Okay, we're live.
Great. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome. This is Tim Dillingham. I am the Executive Director of the American Littoral Society, and I want to welcome everybody to our Littorally Local at-home event. Like everything else this year, it's a little different. We would love to be out on a boat with you all right now, or on the beach, or watching the sunset somewhere on the Navesink River or on Sandy Hook, but as we all know, we are in a different world at the moment. But we have had such a great time last year that we wanted to continue to have this space in your minds and in your hearts that this is the time of year that you would get together with the Littoral Society to celebrate all the great things we've done together, our accomplishments, to maybe talk about our challenges, but really to just affirm the membership and the partnership that we have, and the work that we're doing and its continued importance to care for the coast, to care for marine life and their habitats, and to care for the communities of people who live along the coastline. As you know, we are very, very big on the idea of connecting people to the coast. That is fundamental to our mission, really fundamental to our lives as individuals and as professionals who work for the Littoral Society and as members, and really is just a driver. So we wanted to keep that connection going, keep that celebration going, because despite all the challenges of this year, and really the last 6 months, we have still continued on in our mission to care for the coast, to defend it from harm, and to work to empower others to do the same thing. We are also running, as you know, our online auction, some really great stuff. I understand there's now a bidding war going on for having drinks and dinner with me. That's one of the options. So I'm flattered. I'm going to call my mother after we're off tonight and tell her that I finally made it. But there's some really great stuff, and I really want to thank all of you who are out there who donated, and especially those of you who are bidding on those items. The bidding is going to go on until midnight. So there's lots of time. You can stay with us here, and not worry about getting back to the bidding wars until after 6:30. So I'm really happy to be joined by Kristen Hall and Heather Robinson, who are the co-chairs of the committee, who helped us put all this together. Their perseverance, their dedication to what we do has really been important. So thank you very much for that. I just want to spend a few minutes talking about sort of where we are in this time of COVID, in this time of distress and division in our country, in this time of reckoning with racial injustice, because we've continued, as I said, to care for the coast. And I would like to start by just expressing my gratitude and appreciation and respect for the staff of the Littoral Society. We are really blessed with having 23 people who are scientists and educators and development people, communication staff, who help us advance the programs, the education work, the conservation work, and the policy and advocacy that we tackle. And they have been creative, they have been humorous, they have rolled with the punches. We have really, I think, sort of walked our own talk, right? We often speak, particularly when we're wrestling with issues around the climate and the impact of climate change on the coastline, on our communities, on natural habitats. We talk about the need to adapt, right? That we have a problem that we're wrestling with. And that's what the Littoral Society staff did. Like everybody else, we went home, we sheltered in place. We weren't able to get together. We didn't go out in the field. we didn't lead education trips. We didn't have the thousands of kids that go through the schools out on Sandy Hook or in Gateway or in the other natural places we try to introduce them to. And I will say we missed all of that. You know, the reason that we, I think, feel so passionate about connecting people to the coast is that we really enjoy sharing the wonders as well as the challenges of what's to be found at the coastline. But you know, the need to care for it didn't go away, right? The issues, while we were wrestling with the issues around the pandemic in particular, the ongoing challenges that face the coast, face our desire to have the coast be a vibrant, ecologically sound, and wonderful place to live continued. So we found new ways to do the programming. We found new ways to move forward with the education, with the conservation work, and with the policy work. Like everybody else, and like tonight, we spent a lot of time in the Zoom world, a lot of time in virtual meetings. We learned how to shift, particularly our educational programming, over to virtual platforms. And I would encourage you, if you didn't see them in the beginning, go to the Littoral Society's YouTube channel and take a look at the videos that were put together by the staff themselves. So there was a real moment there where everybody had to learn how to make a video at home. And we have everything from how to plant dune grass and the importance of dunes, beach grasses in classes, messaging in from Nicole, and walking, you know, through Sandy Hook with her quarantine partner, her sister, who she recruited into the effort, to Manny, our house morale officer out at Sandy Hook, who is the dog that has adopted Zach Royal, and how to build an underwater camera and to monitor the fish that are coming back through the inlet that we built at Wreck Pond, and in our efforts to restore endangered river herring to that estuary. We went through and learned how to do webinars and connect with people on everything from art around the red knots and horseshoe crabs and their journeys. We had a wonderful session with Janet Isley, just a wonderful artist who has adopted regional and native approaches to art, and she's documented and tried to raise awareness around the red knot and the horseshoe crabs and the conservation challenges there. We have done webinars on how to build a rain barrel and how to build rain gardens in your own backyard to help control and minimize pollution into places like the Navesink or the Cohansey or the Delaware River. So we just, in fact, this morning in Jamaica Bay in New York, Don Reapy and Alex Panonic and Lisa Shepke were taking part in a virtual Shorebird Jamaica Bay festival. So they were leading people, giving people an opportunity to tune in and share their knowledge by doing it virtually. And we've done that over the last 6 months for horseshoe crabs, for shorebirds, and for Jamaica Bay. We led a national conversation about plastics in the ocean and the challenges and threats that continued single-use plastics and other plastic items, and the production of plastic itself poses to the ocean, microplastics making their way into the food chain, and where are some sort of the sources of why we have that problem and how we might address it. After the initial part of the early spring, we got back on the beach and we rebuilt the horseshoe crab beaches, and we continue to do that. We continue to get nationally recognized for those beaches. We built fish ladders in Wreck Pond. We started oyster reefs in Jamaica Bay and Barnegat Bay, and we continue our work on marsh and shoreline work. I've spoken about some of the policy issues. You know, we've continued to interact with the states around climate adaptation, public access, defending our federal ocean laws, the National Environmental Policy Act, EPA, continuing to oppose offshore oil and gas. So there were lots of challenges this spring. I hope that you've tuned into our social media, you've followed them, and I know many of you have answered the call to action when we put it out there, and for that we deeply appreciate it. So, the world continues to throw challenges at us. Some of them are unique to the ocean and the coast, but I think the report from my desk is that the Littoral Society has continued to make creative solutions and responses to those challenges, has continued to build communities around them to bring people together, to educate them and to connect them to those challenges. And I think we are still well on the road to solving many of those problems, but definitely still on the road to meeting them and to wrestling with them. So that's like a really brief compression of lots and lots of work that's been done in the last 6 months. And so again, I want to thank the staff. I want to thank the Board of Trustees. And I want to thank all the volunteers and people who help out with the society, because we don't do this alone by any means. We don't want to do it alone. We prefer to do it with others. One of those folks who's been involved with us for a long time, who I'd like to introduce now, is Heather Robinson. And she, well, I'll let her tell her story, but she's been very gracious to give us her time and her talents this spring, and have made this a very successful effort. So Heather?
Okay, hi, thanks, Tim. It's so great to hear, even from you, knowing everything that you've been doing during these times, what's been going on, and all the work that you've been doing behind the scenes and in front of the scenes as well. I think for me, the Littoral Society has been such an important part of me and my family's life. My kids have attended the camps there and loved it, and we all really appreciate the everything that the Littoral Society brings to our lives. We just love the kind of the idea of the treasures of the beach that we can that we can reach out to during these times. And I think also, especially with everything that's been happening, I think people have really been going to the natural world and taking the time to spend the time outside in their backyards, which for us, luckily, is the beach and the coastline. And it teaches us about how we have to be fluid and adaptive, and that's exactly what the Littoral Zone is, that's adapting every day. So I'm just very excited to be able to help out, and look forward to everyone checking out the great auction items that we have. There's lots of really exciting things, everything from glamping in Cape May to that sought after dinner with Tim, to skimboarding camps and private seining tours. So check everything out that we have on there. And just to give you a little bit more information about what your donation might actually do, we've connected some of the dollar amounts that you could give to an actual impact for the Littoral Society. So for instance, if you're able to give $50, that removes 13 pounds of trash from the shorelines. It also could be an interpretive sign for the red knots, which are migratory birds that come through following the horseshoe crabs. $100 is 1 foot of the beach restored. So just so you know that your money is going to do amazing work that the Littoral Society does through the restoration, the education, and the caring that they do for the coast. So thanks so much.
Great. Thanks very much, Heather, and thanks for all the help. I think it's really astounding to think about what's a relatively small contribution and how much help it can be. It is really the old axiom that many hands make light work. Please, if you believe in this work, give generously and drag your friends along, particularly in things like the seining trips. And if waste reduction is your thing, there's a zero waste workshop that can be held privately with Nicole Haynes, our education director, and get introduced there. So Great. Well, I want to also introduce now Kristen Hall, who is our other co-chair of the event committee. Uh, Kristen, we met when we were showing films about our work in oyster restoration in Barnegat Bay, and lots of energy, lots of organizing skills. I'd like to introduce Kristen and have her share some thoughts.
Hi, thanks, Tim. So my name is Kristen Hall, as Tim mentioned, and I'm a Rumson resident. I'm also the chair of the Rumson Environmental Commission. And for those of you that know me, you know that I'm passionate about the environment, and you know that I'm particularly passionate about protecting our rivers and oceans. You also might know that the word littoral, as Heather referred to, refers to the coastal region, especially the shore zone between the high and low tide. The shores of our rivers, oceans, lakes, and streams, that is what ALS is dedicated to protecting. And that's why I'm here today and why I'm so proud to support this Littoral Society and what they do. And I wanted to give you just a brief background on how much ALS has meant to me and our community and why I'm so happy to support them. This is just a few of the touch points, but as far back in 2016, actually, I saw them presenting at the Red Bank Street Fair, and they were talking about oysters and Chuck It, Don't Chuck It, and Operation Oyster. And as you guys probably all know, that one adult oyster actually filters 50 gallons of water a day, and that there used to be just so many oysters in our waters, but for a variety of reasons, there aren't that many anymore. In fact, there's very few. And they've been working really hard to bring them back, or at least do the research that would kind of underpin that goal. And so I introduced him to the Rumson School District and the superintendent and Jen Crow, who's a science teacher and also a fellow commissioner. And they developed a curriculum there called Operation Oyster. They put into the schools teaching marine science and environmental science, and in particular about the oysters and what they mean to all aspects of our world. And it was an amazing pilot program, and it's actually become a permanent part of it. Permanent part of the education program there. And then also, as Tim mentioned, I collaborated on this wonderful bringing a film to bring the same message to kind of the adults in our community. And it was just a wonderful event. And it was just a pleasure to work with them and to kind of go through this entire process. But that's not all. They also have amazing projects, not just in our backyard, but well, in our backyard, which is right behind me, a picture of this is our waterways right here in Rumson. There's Seabright behind us. They work hard to implement programs that will improve our water quality, such as the Chuck It, Don't Chuck It and Operation Oyster, but also educational programs out on Sandy Hook. And just a little further south in Spring Lake, where my husband grew up and his family still lives, they're working hard on a project in Wreck Pond to improve the connectivity between the ocean watershed and the habitat there in Wreck Pond to improve migratory passages for fish. Further away from in my home state of Florida, they have restoration projects and provide educational kayak trips and eco tours in the beautiful Sarasota Bay, where my family still lives. And so whether it's education, conservation, restoration, advocacy, whether it's Navesink or Shrewsbury Rivers, Wreck Pond, Barnegat Bay, Jamaica Bay, Sarasota Bay, or Sandy Hook, the Littoral Society is dedicated to protecting our shores, and they really need our support. So I'm hoping you'll join me. And as they just mentioned, we can actually, you know, in addition to the wonderful auction items and the bidding war going right now over Tim Dillingham and his having cocktails with him, apparently. There's also, as Heather mentioned, you know, we can actually, few things that are close to my heart. So for $500, we can create 10 feet of living shoreline, which is similar to what you see behind me. It's really not only beautiful, but incredibly beneficial. It's something that Littoral Society works really hard on, educating on and reestablishing. And for $2,500, you can provide 1 day of marine science education for local students. So those are bigger numbers, but just in case some of the auction items aren't catching your eye and you still want to support, these are great ways to do it. So thank you so much. And thank you, Tim, for all that you do.
Well, thanks, Kristen. Thanks. Thank you. And now it's funny. Now we're going to be looking for one of the member of the Hall family every time we go to one of our places. But well, before we end, that's the most part of our program. I really just want to take another moment to thank everybody, to thank the host committee, anybody that's been involved in an effort like this understands how much work goes into it. And I can't tell you how appreciative I am of work that's done on our behalf. People go out and find the auction items, provide the auction items, help us organize, help us get the invitations out. It really is a labor of love, and we all really appreciate the work, because it does indeed help us continue to do the things that we do. And in these times, things are tougher perhaps than they are usually, which in the nonprofit world is always pretty tough. But I want to thank the what we call the host committee, right? The folks that really did the yeoman's work on this. Kristen Hall and Heather Robinson, Anne-Marie Kuhn, Mary Grubert, Denise McEvely, I'm sorry, and Susan Olson. Thank you very much for everything. The donors to all the really great online auction stuff, Brian Kirk and the Jerks, Denise and Mike McEvely, David Robinson, Eileen Kennedy, the Great Swamp Watershed Association, Heather Robinson and Kristen Hall, the Honeybrook Organic Farm, the Jersey Shore Skim Camp, Marnie Doherty Photography, Russ Fernari, who is also a member of the Board of Trustees for the Littoral Society, Sandy Villacoba and the Pilates Project, Sickles Market, Twin Lights Brewing Company, and Indiki. So if you haven't had a chance to go to the auction, go again. We're very, very close to our fundraising goal. And for that, I thank you all for your generosity. There are still some great stuff left, and you still have 6 hours of Scrabble over who could put the biggest bid in for all those great things. I want to wish everyone a great evening. I want to wish you health and safety for yourself and your families. I hope we can all see each other again soon, on the beach or on a boat, or just a place where we can share that common goal of caring for the coast with each other. And since we would usually end this standing on the deck of a boat watching the sun go down, we have a courtesy of Hillary Cortelli generated a virtual sunset. And before she flips the switch on the sunset, I just want to give us a special shout out to her. Hillary Cortelli is the Director of Development for the Littoral Society. This event is her brainchild, and she really pulled it all together, including teaching me at the very least how to get from Zoom to Facebook and not get lost out in the ether somewhere. So Hillary, thank you very much from all of us. And we'll go to the sunset and take care. We'll see you on the beach soon.